but now it's...
Ah.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Vox Vomitus. I am your host, Jennifer Ann Gordon, the author of Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, From Daylight to Madness, and the soon-to-be-released When the Sleeping Dead Still Talk. I am joined with my Vox Vomitus vixens, Allison Martine, the author of the Bourbon books, and Trisha Ridinger McKee, the author of the Beyond series. Today we have incognito, a very special guest, Tamara Thorne.
I think you just got them married. I love it.
FYI, Tamara, you and Alistair are married now.
I'll let him know.
We'll tell him later.
You can tell him later.
Oh, okay.
Figure out.
I'll let him know tonight.
Yeah, it's something he should know. So Tamara, you are a return guest for us, and we want to thank you again. We had a guest get sick yesterday, so Tamara is filling in very last minute to come talk to us about all things spooky, and the good and the bad about writing horror and gothic horror. So Tamara, tell us a little bit about you.
Me? Well, me. Usually I let Alistair take over and talk about him. I published my first book in 91 and as Chris Curry, and I didn't like that nom de plume because I could never answer to it. And so then when I switched publishers, I turned back into Tamara Thorne, and I've been doing that ever since. And I write horror. I'm a sucker for ghost stories in particular. And I do some ghost hunting. I'm always the skeptic that goes along and says, yeah, I don't think that's a ghost.
I'm just picturing you like Scooby-Doo pulling off the mask. What? It's all withers. What? That's Tamara's job.
Yeah, it's when you do find something that you cannot explain, it's so much better if you haven't figured everything else is real. It's so much better because it's so rare. But it happens. It's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
See, I'm opposite. I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a ghost. I know it. I'm out of here.
I always get a very specific feeling when it's an actual ghost. Like, I know that sounds weird, but like I get this. It's like chills, but it almost feels like there's a hand right around my spine. And it's the same feeling every time that I've had like a legitimate ghost experience, and like including things with like EMFs and temperature readings, and
those can be intense. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, whoa. We had a really spooky ghost experience when we were in the Czech Republic, because we went to this tour of underground Prague, and we visited an executioner's house and the dungeon where they kept the prisoners. But the executioner had a family. He had a daughter, he had a wife, and that little girl, his daughter, is one of the main active spirits there.
Oh.
There's no way you'd get me to go to a place like that. No. Like,
I would love to.
Dungeons. No.
Yeah. I'm there.
I'll wave.
We did EMF meters, temperature, thermometers, and at one point I thought Roman was standing next to me because I felt somebody holding my hand, and I turned to say something to him, and he wasn't there. But then my hand got tugged down, and our ghost hunter that we were with, she was like, "Normally the little girl is over here," and she was like in a different part of the room, and she's like, "But nothing's active." And then I looked down at my EMF meter, and it was like lit up completely. And I was like, she's here. Yeah. She's with me. She's standing next to me. She's holding my hand. And then like the temperature, it was so cool. Like, and the temperature dropped only in the space around me.
Yeah. Oh, I've been in a few of those. I think Whaley House was the first one. And I don't even know if I was 20 yet. And we found, my now husband and I found a cold spot. And
your now husband, Alistair.
Yeah, now I have two husbands. We played with it. He played with it, and he grew it from a little baseball-sized thing to about the size of a volleyball, and he's just having a grand old time. And it was that weird. It became that weird slimy cold. He was feeding it, and we left the house and sat down, and he didn't want to move for at least half an hour. He was drained, and that was really cool. But that was
That gives me chills. That gives me chills now thinking about it.
Yeah, I spent the
So
night in
do you use a lot of your ghost hunting experience and your real life ghost experiences in your work, in your writing, or do you try to keep that
Yeah.
separate?
Well, it morphs into something entirely different.
Yeah.
Alistair and I, when we decided we had to meet in person, and we went to I'd been invited to investigate a little private cabin up in Gold Country because the people couldn't stay there. It had problems. And so I said, why don't we meet, and go there together? So that was 5 nights in a haunted cabin. And we scared ourselves silly because we turned to a couple of 10-year-olds telling each other ghost stories, but there was activity there. And our first big novel, The Cliff House Haunting, sort of came from that. And, there was one thing in The Cliff House Haunting, we had one of our main characters see a sandwich float off the counter. And we had something similar to that actually happen, but, I amped it way up for the book. And the cold spots over the years, there's been all sorts of things. The things like you mentioned, the feeling you get. So I always, from the time I was a kid, I always wanted to write, and I would go to places and sit there and soak up atmosphere. And years and years later, I discovered that sometimes you soak up things that have really happened, and that was pretty cool. But I've always used it. But the real life things are nothing compared to what we put in our books. But they do inspire.
That's very true. I know I've been to a lot of haunted locations, and I've never encountered a ghost like the ghosts in my novels. They're not so fully actualized.
No. Now, Brimstone, my latest solo, that's based on a hotel in Jerome, Arizona that used to be a hospital. And I first went there long before ghost hunting became popular, and they got on TV and all that. And there were like rolly carts. You'd hear, I didn't hear it. My husband heard it while I was downstairs half the night talking to the night clerk trying to get ghost stories. And he heard all this stuff up in the room. A cart rolling by with squeaky wheels, and it's supposed to be a nurse. And another guy in a adjacent room ended up down in the lobby because he heard his name whispered in his ear, and that was supposed to be
no.
a real common thing to happen. So we put that in the book, or I put that in the book. That one's a solo, and all those got in. But then the main ghosts, they're way beyond anything that happened there. But it sure was fun. It inspired.
So, I love this.
Yes.
We all read your newsletter that you sent out this week about haunted houses, and so I'm going to get to that in a second, but I'm going to take a long way to get there.
Okay.
In your newsletter, you talked about Haunting of Hill House, which is my favorite book, and I loved that you said there is a little bit of Haunting of Hill House in every ghost story that anybody writes.
I really believe that. Yeah.
I believe it too. One of the most scary parts of that book to me was when Eleanor was talking about how she could hear the pounding inside the walls, and it was like almost deafening. I stayed in a haunted mansion in Newport, Rhode Island many, many years ago, and that's the only time I've ever heard something like that happen. At 3 a.m, that entire house roared. It shook.
Wow.
The walls it was insane. And I was there on Halloween because I was working with somebody, and we had done a seance earlier in that night. And so it was a very active night. And when I read Haunting of Hill House, I actually read it after that, and I got to that part, and I went, oh my gosh.
That's a scary thing.
Yeah.
I once heard it, but we figured out that the house we were renting had plumbing in the walls, and that's what it was. We thought we had a burglar, a prowler, but that was a very long time ago. But, yeah, I'm glad I haven't heard that. We lived in one rental that we only stayed in for 6 months that scared the tar out of us, and it was sort of odd all along, but our cats, we had 5 cats, and they insisted on sleeping with us, and our son, he was like a year and a half, 2 years, he acted weird, and So we moved, and the last day when we were just there alone, well, I was there alone. He went to get the truck, and I thought he came back and was stomping through the house, big heavy footsteps. And what's wrong? And I call his name a couple times. He doesn't answer. And so I walk up this long hall to the foyer, and I'm standing there looking. I'm wondering who's in the house with me. And then these footsteps start up again, and they stomp right past me. And I hear the door to our son's room slam shut, only it didn't. And the footsteps kept going. And I went out on the front porch and waited until he got home, got back with the truck and wouldn't go in. And then a very similar thing happened to him when he went back to give the landlord the keys. And he ended up leaving them in the mailbox because he got so spooked. And but that's one of the few scary ghosts I've ever run into. Usually they're, neutral or even nice.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. So what is it about, so you said Haunting of Hill House is that your favorite book?
Absolutely.
Or your favorite ghost?
I found it in the library when I didn't go back to science fiction after that. I've read it over and over and watched it over and over. I love it.
Yeah, it's my ideal. I got a review once compared my first book, Beautiful, Frightening, and Silent, to Haunting of Hill House, and I cried. I was just like, I can't believe that somebody put Shirley Jackson's name near my name.
Wonderful feeling. Yeah.
Like we're in the same sentence.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better than that.
I know. It's like, I want to print that out and use it as my wallpaper in my home. So what about that book in particular do you find so inspiring?
I think the fact that it's not overt, that it could be in Eleanor's mind, but it isn't. I never thought it was, and I love that Shirley Jackson came out and told the makers of the movie that, no, it's not psychological, it's real. But the fact that you don't quite know, and I think that makes it spookier. And you can't be sure. And there's one part, I recently reread the book, and there was something I'd forgotten about because it had been so long, and it's where Eleanor and Theo go outside toward the end of the book. I think it's chapter 5. And they follow the dog outside that they think they see, and they see an old birthday party going.
Yeah.
But then they don't tell you anything else, and it freaks them out. And I would love to know what she had in mind with that. Maybe just scaring the readers without telling us, but that really sticks with me. Do you remember that?
I do. I remember thinking, what the hell is going on? And then I also was wondering if it would somehow get any kind of resolution. And I love that it didn't, because it is, to me, it's like they ran across somebody's memory, or even maybe a vision from the future. I know that sounds so silly, but like the imprint of that place.
Definitely.
Love.
Yeah, that's really crazy, because hardly anybody remembers that because of the movie. And I love that. But the whole thing is so, Eleanor always annoyed me. But, I just want to slap her most of the time. But especially in that 1990 remake, we throw popcorn at the screen and treat it like Rocky Horror. Die, Eleanor, die. But the real movie we love. And we're really glad we don't know Eleanor personally.
Hi, Christy. Yeah, Eleanor, and I think that's another strength that this book has, is that Eleanor is not likable. Shirley Jackson does a really great job of writing incredibly unlikable characters that you still root for.
Right.
Like, I was still concerned for Eleanor, even though, especially the first time I read it, I hated her a lot. But I've grown to love Eleanor over the years. She's part of me.
Wow, she's a great character, and but I'll take Theo.
Well, Theo is hot. in my
movie, yeah.
In book version or movie version is hot? Which
all versions.
Who played him in the movie?
I like the stupid movie with Catherine Zeta-Jones because I just love her. But she had just come off of making Chicago, so she was really limber.
That's what you need for your ghost stories, limber heroines. There
That's right.
That's right.
Limber hot heroines.
Yeah. But what I didn't like was the Netflix one, and I think I would have liked it a lot better if they hadn't just taken all of Shirley Jackson's names and plugged them in there and had just done it on their own. I would have been much more impressed.
Yeah, I loved the show, but that's not my Hill House.
No, it's nobody's Hill House.
That is haunting of a Hill House, but not the haunting of Hill House.
No, it's look, I can make more money if I use these names. But then you go to Bly Manor and he redeems himself 1,000,000 times over. We both
so Allison, you're not watching Bly Manor, are you? Trisha, you are.
I am. I think I'm at episode 7, so I'm not the one episode that I know, Jen, you love. I'm not there yet.
All of them, but episode 8 broke me in the best possible way.
It was
loving it.
Fantastic. The episode 8, they called it. I wrote it down because I knew I'd forget the name. The Romance of Certain Old Clothes, and that's actually a completely different James story, and it's the same names and everything. And it was wonderful the way they plugged that in there. And then
we don't want to do spoilers for Trisha, but oh my gosh. Yeah, and Allison, you need to watch it.
And it's not. And I'm not sure I can because I can only handle so much scary. I'm not a big horror reader. I read some.
It's not scary. It's just like it's creepy into where it creeps into your mind and just But I would have binged it, but I can't watch it alone because there is that certain. And so I have to wait for my husband to be ready to watch the next episode. And I'm like, come on. What are you doing at 2 a.m.?
What I do, I get tense. And so I pick up my phone when I can't stand just watching it. And I start playing Spider while I watch it. Now that will keep me focused. And I can look away. And I won't watch anything that's real bloody, just for the sake of blood. I like those stories, not slashers. But yeah, Bly Manor got spooky enough that I had to play Spider a few times, and that's unusual with a ghost.
And that's
story.
probably too scary for me because, like, for me, what I was going to say is we're watching Lovecraft Country, and there are nights afterwards I've had nightmares, and I'm like, well, I know why that one happened, and I can actually say this imagery is from that, and I mean, we're not done with it yet, so no spoilers, but it is fabulous.
I'm going to watch it soon. I'm going to start it soon.
It's scary for me, and I'm watching it anyway. So,
it's not good.
Yeah. Matt Ruff, that's his name. We had him on. He's good.
We have him next month, so
you'll like him. Yeah. Good.
Did anybody who here has watched Dark, the one that's all in German, besides me?
I have.
I've only seen the first season.
I have.
It's all in German, so if you'd remember it because I feel like, why have I not learned German from watching
I'm
it?
extremely ADD, and if I am expected to watch subtitles, it had better just absolutely blow me away, or I'm going to be all over the place.
For Dark, I made it through the first 2 seasons. It's very good. I haven't watched season 3. It's hard to watch sometimes because it is subtitled and there are so many timelines going on and it's all the same characters because it's like time travel horror is what I would say, or like speculative fiction, but there's like a horror aspect to it and it's shot beautifully, but if you look away from the screen for a second you're just like, what is happening? Which version, what timeline are we in? Because half the time it's not obvious at first.
Yeah, and that's part of the storytelling is that they don't tell you exactly what's going on and then they kind of reveal how they all connect. I mean, I think for me, the scariest part of the show is the opening credits. That song like haunts me. And I'm like, I will go do something else while the credits are playing. And then the show's fine, but it sets it up so well and it's using these weird mirrors that do these images that just, They freak me out. I have a very low threshold of getting freaked out. It doesn't take much.
I've hidden my eyes in the Peter Pan ride at Disneyland. I can't stand poppets. I know there's something there, but I get so freaked out. So,
what about the Peter Pan ride is a problem for you? You're right for children?
Anything that pops out will trouble me so badly.
I don't love jump scares. I feel like I feel like it's I think maybe it's my anxiety disorder that makes me not like them. But sometimes I start crying because I'm like, and then I just cry immediately, and I'm like, oh well, that's not cool.
I love it. I just laugh and laugh and laugh. Not hysterical, but it's a macho thing. I won't cry. I only laugh. And boy, do I laugh when I get scared.
So you're literally laughing in the face of fear. It's like that.
Yeah.
That's your author motto. I'm Tamara Thorne. Mm-hmm. I laugh in the face of fear.
Yeah, because I refuse to cry or scream. Although Winchester, every time I saw it in the theater with my girlfriend, and we both jumped a few times, but I could hide my eyes there. Then we watched it at home, then we bought it, and now it's on Netflix. And they use that opening scene where the guy is first in the room and he's looking in the mirror that swings back and forth. And the ghost is going to appear in one of it. My husband and he starts it. He's a worse screamer than I am. We both shriek every time it comes, scares cats to death. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Around here.
So, Tamara, one of my favorite things about following you and Alistair on social media, or I should say stalking you on social media, is I love the posts where you talk about, I tried to sneak this line into the book without.
Oh, that's so much fun.
So who is more the mischief maker? Is it you or Alistair? Or is it equal?
It's pretty equal. He does that because he hates to read out loud. We read all our stuff out loud, from yesterday. To get started on it, we usually work on 3 books a day. So with each one, we read what we wrote yesterday. And either that, or if I happen to be the one writing a scene, he will go on ahead. And I'll do it too, but he does it more often because I'm usually reading out loud when he does it. And I use my hands when I talk, and you can't see.
I'll use mine for you. There you go.
It's only because he has more opportunity. And he'll tell me, oh, I hope I didn't gross you out. And then in a scene, and then oh, no, that's great. And then he says, you grossed me out. And we're real happy. We're starting to save these. We realized we ought to put them in a book together.
So. That's great. Trisha, Allison, do you have any questions for Tamara?
I was going to ask you, you mentioned what came out now, but you're working on 3 books a day. So are all of the ones you're co-writing, or do you each have a project and then something you're doing together? What's on your daily docket?
2 collaborations. It's always Ravencrest, and right now it's Spite House, the hardest book we ever wrote, but we love it. And then we both work on our solos. We use it's our virtual office on Skype, and we're in Google Docs, and we just I will go everywhere but where I'm supposed to be without him, and I keep him laughing because he gets more intense than I do. And so we have an office, and we have our breaks, and we have lunch together, and we just work together every day, and it works really, really well. He keeps me disciplined, not in a sexy way.
I was going to say, in a sexy way? Is that what you said?
In a sexy way?
In a
we haven't heard of a blushing contest. No.
I'm like,
we're too close to be sexy with each other. We're like aimed at the brain or something, or other things. I don't know. We're like 2 10-year-old boys making fun. Oh.
No, but I love that, because I think a lot of us, when we're doing creative things, it's very solitary, and we're in our own minds, and we're off in our own worlds, and then we're excited to share that with someone, but that doesn't usually happen until later, either alpha readers or beta readers, or sometimes some people skip all those and just push the book out there and then hope for the best.
Yeah, I only had my editor before him. And
right. How is that now, having somebody who's there in that world with you?
he thinks just like I do. He writes very similarly to the way I do. It's pretty much we know if something's good or bad because we will both react the same way. There's never any. We seem to be somewhat telepathic. I'll pick up the we call them text machines because neither of us likes phones. I pick up the text machine and then he does, or vice versa. And anytime we get up to pee at night, we usually text each other, hey, I had an idea while I was peeing, stuff like that. Yeah, it's not sexy. It's just very, very, very. I'm grateful that we have this relationship. Never had anything like it.
I love the way you two work. I just find it so fascinating, and I also think to pick up on what Allison said. We as writers, it's a very solitary life. And I know for me, I can get neurotic and a little crazy. And I think we all can. And it's really great that you two have that relationship that you could probably talk each other down before we get to that point. Alice and Trisha and I have a similar relationship. We don't work together all the time, but we have a group chat that when one of us goes nuts, we go in there and we're like, I'm going nuts. And there's
somebody else pulls you down off the ledge. And no, you don't. Come on.
No, you're fine.
Alistair and I talk each other down from politics. We both tried to totally avoid it. And
he told you to avoid it.
He did. He texted
you
me
to avoid it. You just brought it up.
Yeah.
See, this is why you need him here to keep you in line, because as soon as he's not here to stop you, you said the word politics.
That's as far as I go. That's it. And so we keep each other out of politics. We enjoy the same kind of gossip, and we mostly the books.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Everybody gossips.
Never. We would never.
Right. Yeah, us either. We don't gossip at all. Yeah.
It's sharing industry information that's totally work related. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, that's what we do too. We just have fun, and we're both really grateful that we met and sort of feel like it was meant to be, because we don't argue. Neither of us likes to argue, though, and that's part of the reason we have so much fun together. We're both peacemakers. So it works.
Do your cats ever get on Skype with you guys? And do your cats have play dates?
She's not sleep. Oh, she is, but she's behind me. Mindy comes and whenever she wakes up, she starts the and then he talks to her, and then his cats come, and the fat one comes and starts begging for dinner an hour before we're done with the scene, and we just talk to each other's cats all day long.
Dogs have Instagram, but this is like cats have Skype. That's a whole new level of.
And then there's the occasional cat fight, and we start. Early on, it was, oh my God, I don't believe I said that in front of you. And that's okay. I say that all the time, but we got over that fast. You little MF. So that's what we do.
So how far ahead do you guys plan your books? Like I know White House is probably consuming you right now.
Oh, yeah, we've been in that thing forever.
But and that comes out in what, December? It's December, right?
It won't be out in December. We're still working on it.
Okay.
We're hoping to be reading it back to each other by December, and getting it.
Do you do accents? And
our favorite accent is to go back and forth with Southern accents. He'll do the Walking Dead guy with the Southern accent. It's not Daryl. No, the old former. He's been dead for a long time. And then I do Blanche Dubois, and sometimes we aren't concerned about gender. And there's a few other accents, but they don't last long because then we get the giggles and we don't know what we wrote or read.
I feel like you should both do a reading of the way Betty Davis talked in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Oh, that's good.
You should just bring it on him tomorrow when you're reading your pages.
I will. Yeah. I can usually just do Southern. I've been trying to do Boris Karloff lately, but I haven't figured that one out yet. I wasn't aware of just how much Boris Karloff sounded like Boris Karloff till we watched a TV thing from the 50s of Arsenic and Old Lace with Boris Karloff as the ugly brother. Oh. And it was great. Oh my God, Boris Karloff talks like Boris Karloff. I'll be damned.
It was just his voice the whole time.
Yeah.
He wasn't acting at all.
No, he put it on a little heavy, but so that's we don't do accents too much, but now and then.
Oh my gosh.
And we do like to do porno music, and that is entirely composed of going in background. Oh.
See that seems like classy porno music to me. That was
I don't know. It's our porno, Yeah, Belinda's got her clothes on. And that's what we do.
Do you guys ever write sex scenes?
Oh my God, Ravencrest. We thought we were going to write an erotic paranormal thing. And we got tired of the sex scenes and turned it into gothic horror without the sex. There's still sex, especially in the first one. Oh boy, is there sex in the first one. But no, we found that we sat there and would say to each other, so is this getting you hot? Yeah, you? Oh, a little. Huh? Yet? And that's how we do sex scenes, and that's how we determine. We ask each other if we're getting hot.
See, and I write romance, but I don't write things that are that explicit. But that will now be my thing. I'll just send Jen and Trisha, hey, does this get you guys hot? And if they're like, oh, that's hot.
Oh, the first time I started reading Ravencrest, the sex scene in Ravencrest, it's a physical that she's getting that is nasty. And the first time I started reading that back out loud, I thought I was going to die. But then he'd start giggling, and then we'd start making funny voices, and we got through it.
It's like, how hot is it when you're making silly accents and going?
We have actually had a few people tell us, well, women tell me, not us, that they hadn't had orgasms till they read that scene. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a public service announcement.
Yeah,
that should be,
but it's still.
And I won't say who, but I know one of my friends who is I won't even identify more than this. One of my readers who read my first novel, Dibs, they were trying to conceive another child, and she said, "This really helped." Yeah. Now I can market it as a marital aid. I don't know.
Oh, our reader is recording it now for Audible. She told me, or I told her I couldn't read the sex scene yet after she told me she sent it. And I said, because I didn't want to read it while my husband was sitting there. And she says, I know, I wouldn't let my husband hear it. No. But it was fun.
Oh, wow.
But I like horror better.
Yeah. We are, oh gosh, we're out of time.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Wow. We didn't even get to talk about the ghost sex in the book Hell House, but that's fine.
Yeah, that's hot. That's right.
Oh gosh, that's going to be forever my. That's how I'm going to flirt with Roman now. People who don't know, when I say the words Roman, that is my fiance. I'm just going to go up.
Young Frankenstein, when Madeline Kahn gets hot and the monster doesn't want her anymore at the end, and she, I think maybe that's where we picked it up. I don't know. But yeah, that's what it makes me think of.
Oh wow!
And there's nothing sexier than that.
Yeah. Rolling around for a while. I love Madeline Kahn, so
me too.
Do what you want.
Tamara, thank you again for hopping onto our show last minute and having like a girls' night out without Alistair.
Yeah, it's fun, huh?
Unsupervised.
Unsupervised. I mean, only the cats are supervising now.
Yeah, right. And they're all snoring, so I don't know what we did, but hopefully it worked.
We bored them.
Yeah.
All right, Tamara, thank you so much. Your website is scrolling underneath our stream here, but you can visit her if you're listening to this on just audio at tamarathorne.com. It has all of her information there. Thank you to my Vox Vomitus Vixens, Allison and Trisha. Yay! And stay tuned next week for our Halloween episode where we will probably be wearing too much makeup and maybe hats or costumes. Yeah. Who was to say? So that is next Wednesday night at 6 p.m. If you are around Monday morning, we are doing an interview with Max Seek at that time. He is in Finland, so we are in a different time schedule for that. But again, it'll be available on replay, so you don't have to get up early. And thank you all. Thank you to Roman, our producer. We had some technical issues tonight, so he was on top of that, and he was awesome. Thank you to everybody at the Authors on the Air Network, our executive producer, Pam Stack. And we will see you next week. Bye. Bye.